Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you, another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks. Sampler video series of videos I've been doing for a little while now. Go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff. Then, folks, I'm gonna talk about stuff. I'm gonna let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not as enthused about this review as I would have been maybe 20 minutes ago. But we'll get to that. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm going to yammer on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm in my back room today, which means we get Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. Ooh, Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. Whilst I'm doing all that, folks, I am doing something else. What is it? I'm wearing a super cool shirt. Folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for you today, though? Happens to be my Judo Master shirt. Yeah. If you're unfamiliar with the character of Judo Master, he's I don't know exactly at this point what you consider old, because I'm old. He's older than me. Comic book character, originally through the Charlton imprint. I love goofy, like, one-off characters and, more obscure characters, especially from the past. And on top of that, I'm a bit of a martial arts fan, so you give me one of these guys who their only power is the fact that they knew martial arts in the 70s, it works for me. He showed up in Peacemaker, so he's not entirely forgotten about these days. I love him, I own most of the original issues. I'm a fan, man. And if you happen to be interested in comic book stuff, hit me up in the comic book or comment section. We can go over there and chat about it. But anyway, what am I trying for you today, folks? What are we doing here? Why am I not as excited about this as I wanted to be? Well, folks, that's because I'm going to be reviewing for y'all. Boom! We've got some ramen noodles of the beef birria type from Ol El Paso, which is obviously not a brand that we usually associate with ramen noodles, but boop-a-doo. Here's the thing. I just got through reviewing their fajita flavor. That review should be up and available by the time I post this one. And, they weren't terrible or anything, but I was a little less than ecstatic about my whole experience. You can watch that if you want my full take on it. But now I am a little bit more excited about these. You got the beef birria. I'm a big fan of birria. And I've even reviewed some birria ramen. Tapatio's done it. There's been some others I just can't think off the top of my head. So, okay, But let's get a thing for the thing here real quick. It looks like this. And we'll just kind of get a little bit of a thing. We'll just go, Sure. By the way, I actually have an entire playlist called Ramen Reviews. Just ramen-related reviews. That's where this review is going to end up. Now, my big gripe with the Ol El Paso is the noodles, because they don't use anything close to ramen noodles. These are more like standard pasta noodles, and even then, they're like these little diced up tiny noodles, and I don't understand why. But let's give it a go. I personally think they're probably egg noodles, which, like, I like egg noodles. I'm not trying to shit on egg noodles, but you call your product ramen noodles, you expect a ramen noodle experience, not whatever this is. And it really does go beyond that in terms of just my personal preference, because I don't really feel like these noodles pick up the flavor as well as the ramen noodles do. And even if they are, the problem is that they're so, diced up and ethereal. As soon as you put them in your mouth, they really do begin to break down. So you don't really get to enjoy the experience very much, And if you've got some nice ramen, even if it's just the instant stuff, man, there's some really good ones that are really flavorful and tasty. You want to enjoy that experience, and part of that comes down to the noodles. So Yeah, my issue with the noodles still stands. I don't like the noodles that they've chosen. Um, the flavor itself for the beef birria, I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to say this. Nowhere near as good. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as proper birria, obviously, but it's not even as good as like the Tapatio. Um, that I actually really like a lot. I'm a big fan of. This feels more watered down. There's just less going on with it. It has a decent sort of beefy flavor to it. Let's try some of the broth just by itself. Yeah, that's just a very, very weak representation of what has already been. Like, I can understand this being what it is if this was the first attempt at a birria instant ramen, but it's not. There again, it's already existed in capacity for a while now. So really, all Old El Paso had to do was go over there and take a look at what they were doing and find a way to go over there and put their own spin on it. But their own spin seems to have just been to go over there and come up with a cheaper, less good version of it. The flavor's okay. But it's extremely one dimensional. Honestly, the fajita flavor was better because at least that I felt like there was more seasoning. With this, there's no depth to it. It just tastes pretty thin. Again, just kind of a general beefiness. Like I don't really feel like it has a strong birria presence, and it's just it's far from being terrible or anything. I've certainly had worse instant noodles, but this is a new product from Old El Paso, and birria ramen is a thing. Like you can get that at Mexican restaurants that specialize in birria, and it's really good. It's not super difficult again to sort of replicate that to some extent, as other companies have shown. Old El Paso is obviously a brand that has quite a bit of namesake to them, and this is what they came up with. No, no slack for them. Two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? No and no. Like, whereas with the fajita one, I was at least willing to give them a little leeway because, I like the flavor of the broth for what it was. It had some nice seasoning going on. This, for what it is just such a weak representation. It feels exactly like what it is, which is just Old El Paso trying to go over there and edge their way into this market because of course it's a little bit of a thing, make a few extra bucks, and I understand that, but they're putting out an inferior product that there's already way better versions of in every capacity. There's just no reason for this to exist. The only thing that gives it any legitimacy is the namesake, but at the end of the day, your namesake doesn't mean anything if the product can't back it up, and the product, in my opinion, cannot back it up. Again, it's not terrible. I've certainly had worse, but when you have better options available that are already relatively cheap, certainly more filling, more rewarding to eat, why? Right? So I wouldn't get it again. If I'm recommending it, I'm not. I think that again, there's way better options out there, and and that's again talking, or that's bringing up the fact that hey, you can go out to actual Mexican restaurants, and some places offer birria ramen. So there's, I can't recommend it. I think it's a genuinely inferior product. I think they went over there and they tried to cheap their way into something of a trend, and it feels corporate. It feels just very, cynical. So, five things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year. Folks, go over there, have yourselves a truly birria-tastic rest of your life. But proper birria. Get yourself some real deal stuff if you can. It's delicious. Final two things. Number one, try to bring some positivity into the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what do you do if you can't do it all the time? I know I can't do it all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. When we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there, whenever possible, take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, what do you think of my take on this one? Do you think I'm being too harsh? Do you think I've really hit the nail on the head? Look, I really do think that we've sort of moved past the point where instant noodles are simply looked upon as being these, like, really discardable experiences. Just things that, just whatever. It's food for the sake of food. Yeah, that's still there. You still get your super cheap ramen and stuff like that. But we've found so many ways not only to go over there and do more with them on our own, but moreover, there's so many nice brands out there that are doing really nice things with them. For something like this, it should have been an easy win for them, but I just don't feel like they put in any effort, honestly. So, but let me know your take.